So there are a ton of images in your portfolio that I love, Alex, and I think you know it. Um, but when I saw that nobody had chosen an aerial image, it made me want to choose one of these because I think one of the coolest things that there's just like certain images or like gallery releases that just kind of become iconic that like nobody ever forgets about. And I just think it was like the coolest thing ever when you released like some of the first, and I know you weren't the first person. Like Laurent Martrez had photographed this stuff from like an airplane and stuff. You pointed that out to me, and probably some other people that you'll mention. But I feel like you were the person that kind of, I don't know, you released a set of images that was just so insane and just like blew everybody away of this area. And it just felt like a really unique idea and everything. And then it just totally took off. Like it became like such a trend and like people were just chasing these images. And I mean, it made me want to get a drone. And I've also photographed some of this area as well because I just couldn't help it. Like it just seemed like such a cool way to explore these geological formations and everything. And yeah, so I just wanted to bring this up because I think that's like just one of the coolest things that you've done, and that any photographer has done in like the last 10 years. It's just like such an iconic body of work. Like I don't think anybody will forget these like 6 or 8 or whatever amount of images it was in this set with like Mother Brain and yeah, the other ones that were super cool. Everyone's nodding their head, but
Absolutely.
yeah, man, I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool to talk about this because that was such a cool, like, yeah, just kind of like an iconic thing and just kind of an unforgettable moment that I think will go down in recent, like, landscape photography history, honestly.
Well, that's nice to say. I really.
It's so not what he said last night again. Like,
Well, he's putting on a show right now. He just wants to be affable for the camera, but he's the most disagreeable guy I know behind the scenes. I appreciate that. I get why people like get protective of their locations and stuff because I felt that way initially with this sort of thing. Like when people started copying it, like, hey, that's my thing. Like, stop it. But then I thought about how like I had initially seen an aerial of the Blue Badlands from Laurent Martres in one of his books, which was from a plane, like you said, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't really my idea. I just like had more execution because the drone allows you all that freedom. You don't have to book a flight or just happen to be passing over. But I only did like two, like 2016 and 2017, like 2 small releases of drone stuff because I started feeling very disconnected from the work. Like this doesn't really do anything for me unless I look really closely at the light. Like the overall layout, I'm proud of finding, I suppose, but just you're playing a game when you're doing a drone. It's like playing
it's like a video game.
It's not like being in the landscape, like the really quiet thing that I really like about it. Like just kind of being with the trees and being in the viewfinder, it's totally different. It's all rushed and hectic with the 20-minute battery life, 25 maybe, and plus the flight time to get there and the time to compose, and you got to get back. And I almost lost my drone so many times, like in this maze of washes. Not this one, it'd be easy to find here, but just spending too long composing, and then the battery is dying. Now I need to fly back, and it starts landing on its own, and so noisy. Like it's up here, and it'll start landing wherever it is because the battery is going to die and it doesn't want to fall. So you have to start controlling it as it's landing. It's like, will I clear this ridge and get back to where I'm at? I almost didn't. Like I was so close one time where it would have just been like out in the wilderness and I would have had to hike where there's no trail, like in this fucking maze to try to find it.
God forbid Alex has to go hiking.
No, it's that you could really get lost out there. Like some of the stuff northeast of here, like it gets crazy out there, man. The terrain. It's not that I wouldn't hike to get it. Like it had only been like a mile. But anyway, actually what is that place? I don't want to say the name actually, but David Thompson shot it a lot, like the hoodoos in New Mexico, not Bisti, which is really well known, but there's a different one. that I won't blow up, that I went out there by myself one time and it got dark, and it's like the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Like in terms of
Just got
landscape
lost as
photography.
fuck.
Yeah, I was lost as fuck, and it was dark, and I didn't have like Gaia on my phone or anything, and it was just this maze of washes. Like, it was so scary. I eventually found my way back, obviously, but really, really easy for that to happen in the desert when you have, well, anywhere in the desert, but especially, these ups and downs of the landscape where you can't see where the hell you're going, and at night. So it's not that crazy. It's not that I wouldn't want to hike. So I don't want to die, okay?
That's a
Yeah, I feel so disconnected from it, like I like the light and the textures down there. If I had been on this mesa, which we've both been up, and shot down with my camera, I would feel a lot more connected to it. But instead I was near my car, like at sunrise. Like I just woke up and like rolled out of bed and set up the drone, and like I just don't feel like I was in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally
appreciate the photos. But now if I did it, I think
I haven't used my drone in over 2 years, just because I just don't enjoy the experience, and I feel like it's very annoying and stuff. And
it's loud too. I don't want to annoy people. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
be the guy with the drone, so I would have to be sure no one's around. And like this is a
Super
very desolate
obnoxious.
area, but there can still be people. But if I did it now, I don't think I'd be going for like the big scene like this. I'd be like down on one of these sections, like a lot closer, just trying to get a perspective that you can't get on foot, even with a really tall tripod.
Yeah,
So-
but this scene does warrant like that wider angle. Like this is so perfect how everything is just like all these veins are converging. Like
Yeah, it's
this one's insane.
For sure.
the initial
Sure.
one didn't have light like this. This is the later one. So
Yeah, I
the
remember
first
you
release had
reshot
the
it,
gray
like, a year or
version,
two.
and then I went back a year later because it was so flat. Like I had found the composition, but not the conditions.
Mm.
And then at sunrise, it just glows like this. Like it looks like maybe I processed the wash as bluer, but that's just light versus no light, and then white.
When it's in the
balance.
shade, it gets really cool,
Yeah, I didn't really do much.
especially
So-
juxtaposing against the warm light. Yeah, I just wanted to go, Sarah.
Alex, if you do end up in Iceland in this year, do you think you have any interest in doing aerials there?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I feel like it's a really great way to come up with photos that are really compelling. I also feel
I
like
recommend
it's
it.
a little like it's like I need to get out of my own head about it, because I feel like it's a little cheap. It's like really easy to get not to get a perfect composition, but to get a really novel perspective, and then you're already playing with fire, or like you're already cooking. You don't really have to do as much as you would on the ground to find a photograph. So it's less gratifying and easier, but
It's
also
kind of like
more hectic.
inherently shocking because it's just so different from what we can see with our eyes.
Yeah. But I mean, Iceland, it's probably an opportunity I shouldn't turn down, bringing a drone to a place like that. And I might get one again for this area at some point. But I would really want to do a project if I were to do that.
Last time I went to Iceland in like 2018, I think it was, like I just shot the most incredible collection of aerial photos like you've never seen before, like the best photographs ever in the history of landscape photography. And then I crashed the drone and lost them all because I was being a dummy.
Oh shit!
With just one SD
The world
card.
will never know. There's no proof that it ever
I
happened.
swear they were just. It's like the Tenacious D song,
This is not the greatest photo in the world. It's just a
Only a
tribute.
tribute, yeah.
The funny thing is, this photo doesn't actually look anything like that photo. It's just a tribute. I've
Exactly.
been listening to a lot of Tenacious D lately, actually. The original album.
Nice. Jack Black's awesome.
He is. And he's a sweetheart, apparently. He's like one of the last celebrities that is a really good guy that we know of anyway. Everyone gets found out. They're all assholes. But then there's like Keanu and Jack.
Yeah.
That's
They've all
what the
been
show
to
should be about. Celeb
Jeffrey
gossip.
Epstein's island.
It'd be 5 minutes long instead of more than 3 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
that's
know
about all
shit.
I know. I know Jack Black's cool.
He plays video games too, big gamer.
Oh yeah, he did a thing with Conan, I think, where it was like
I saw
showing
him do a
him
thing with
picking.
Tony Hawk, like for the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well,
What
anyway,
about
I
you, dummies?
appreciated your
Got anything?
intro, but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Give these dummies a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate here, but it's also okay if you don't have anything to say because I would understand.
I love the shot. I mean, it's a great perspective of that area. I've flown a drone around this area before myself, and nothing even close to this. But
Paul came for sloppy seconds.
I totally did. I love just the way you lined it up against those buttes, and how the veins just kind of come down and converge into the middle there, and you've got the nice light on there. Really well composed.
I feel like at this point, I'm just like, with Eric prompting you and me sitting here, I feel like it's like, all right.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, bro.
Say something nice about me.
Yes.
Like, just like, I feel strange, like waiting for it, you know? You don't have to
Yes.
say.
Absolutely.
Come on, man. What are you gonna say? Say something.
That's cool.
How did you feel about all the people that were like coming out here and like chasing your compositions and like blatantly comp stomping you and not giving you credit or anything?
Initially protective, but if you look at my portfolio from 2017 onward, like it has become increasingly more anonymous, and I think that was part of that catalyst. Is like, I shouldn't have to feel protective, because the reason people can find it is because you can look on Google Earth, and it's like, is it really mine then? I just was there first.
If it's that obvious.
It's not like, yeah, I mean, and like, I think I did a good job composing them, and I've seen some that are like not as well considered, I guess, but it's still like the same feature and approximately the same thing. Like, it still has the wow factor, and I'm just like, that's not terribly interesting to me if someone else can do it. Not because I have to be better, but just because I want to be me.
Right.
Like, it's not about the fact that I think I can do it better. I just want it. I think I can be me better, and this isn't a good way for me to be me.
I feel the same way. Like, if I photograph something and somebody else is able to copy it, then it's kind of like my fault in a way, you know, like I just wasn't original enough. Or
yeah, I mean, there are certain shots I think that like the scene doesn't look anything like a black and white, or like just the way that you handle the light, or just like the composition is so not something that pops out at you that like,
right,
it feels really gratifying to make it, and it feels like nobody else would just stumble upon it in the same way they would like a more straightforward scene. So those are kind of my more favorite photographs, like the
last 4 images that we've looked at, it'd be like virtually impossible for somebody else to find that exact spot and shoot them with the same everything, you know, like it'd be impossible to replicate them exactly as they are.
Yeah,
for a number of reasons.
Yeah, so that's more valuable to me, and I want to do more things that are me. But I see within this scene, like if a drone just had a telephoto lens, I see all sorts of things that I could do that other people wouldn't see. It's more like drones are wide angle, so they're inherently kind of the whole scene in front of you, and like you can abstract, but you have to get really high up for that, and you have to have a landscape like capable of that. But otherwise, it's just kind of like a really tall tripod, you know, on a wide angle. So it's not as easy to pick something out that is your doing so much as it is just like getting to a place with the drone and being the first person to be at that perspective.
Right. Drones,
they need to have telephotos. Apparently there's like those commercial drones that can like fly with actual cameras, you know, like $10,000, and they can carry a real camera.
Yeah,
have you seen those things?
I haven't seen one in person. Yeah, like
I've been on, back when I was doing filmmaking, I was on some sets where they had like a red camera on a drone like that and stuff, and they're pretty crazy. They're huge. The propellers would like fuck you up if it hit you.
Oh yeah,
cut off a limb.
Yeah,
so peaceful, you know, landscape photography, quiet pursuit, just like a fucking helicopter taking off with your camera on it. Anyway,
What are some of your pet peeves, Alex? I feel like you probably have some like photography pet peeves.
Oh, what? What do you mean?
I don't just like things in photography that people do that
Like other
bugs the shit
people?
out of you. Yeah, or yeah.
I don't know. I can't. I'd have to
You
think
don't have
about
to.
it.
Okay. What about
I'm
like
thinking about it.
just like with gear or something, or like about things about like
Are you trying to get me to say a certain thing? It feels like you're leading me down a path, and
No,
you have
no,
an
I
idea of
just-
where
Same
I'm
thing
going.
to me.
I
This
just
is
feel
your
like
tech
you're.
peeve.
Yeah.
I feel like Alex is very like meticulous and like very like hyper focused, like you said, on certain things, and so like
Okay,
I don't know,
I'll
you
tell you
just get
something.
like really detailed with shit.
Something with gear is that like Canon came out with this 200 to 800 millimeter lens, or they are coming out with it. And I saw all sorts of people online saying, I have a 150 to 600. Like, this is garbage. It's too expensive. Like, why do I need this? I'm like, so mad that they don't understand that there's a difference between 600 and 800 in terms of composing an image in camera. They're like, oh, you can just crop. It's like, oh, so you can just not nail your composition in the field, is what you're saying? You can just point at a place and then figure it out later on the computer? Like, I don't like the idea that oh, just because you can crop something out of a high megapixel image, that you shouldn't spend the time to get a composition in field,
Mhm.
because it's not the same if you just know it's somewhere within that frame and then you do it on the computer, versus like seeing the edges of the frame and the perfect
Right.
balance and the flow in the camera. Like, that's
Yeah,
like the
instead
most
of an
gratifying
afterthought.
thing to me. And the idea that it's just the same thing just really pisses me off. It's like, it's not. You just don't care about composition. That's what you're telling me if you think that it's the same to just crop
Right.
later.
But you do crop in, like you'll shoot in crop sensor mode or something like that, or
Yeah, I'll use crop mode to try to nail it in camera, or like I'll crop later if it's just better for the comp, but I'm trying to do it in camera.
right.
And then along those lines, it really fucking bugs me when camera makers put shit in the way of your composition. It's like the designers don't even care about composition. This is what you were trying to lead me to, maybe. I just cannot believe that they would make a camera like Nikon Z7 Mark I. You cannot turn everything off on the LCD. There is shit all over your composition.
Oh,
At the
yeah.
edges.
I see what you
All
mean
along
now
the
on the
edges.
display.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, on the LCD, like there's shit all along the edges. You have to take the photo and play it back to see it clean.
I hate
So you
that.
can't even do it in real time. It's like this trial and error bullshit.
I don't even like
then-
to use like the leveling thing, like the overlay anymore, because like
No.
sometimes I'm like, what is that like dark thing? And I think it's like a dark branch or something, you know, or like I'm like composing around. I'm like, wait, that's not even fucking there. Like,
I have the Canon set up in a very simple way. They let you customize your screens, where there's one screen with nothing on it and one screen with everything on it. So it's just one button press to flip between all the info and nothing in the way. And there's still one thing that really pisses me off on Canon that I don't think I should get into, because it's just, why would anyone care? Why would anyone want to watch this? We're already
because
at
you'll never be
three
you'll
and a
never
half
become
hours.
an explorer of light if you say it.
I already turned down like not being an explorer of light, but working with Canon, because I don't want to have to worry about stuff like that. I don't want to like not be able to say that it's fucking bullshit that their designers don't think about their cameras as machines to compose photographs. They're like machines to point in a general direction. And that's actually not true, because Canon has really good ability to get a clean screen. But some cameras, like the number one thing I say with students when they ask me for shit, like for critique on their compositions,
Shit.
is for shit. When they ask me for critique on their compositions in the field, is like, can we get all the shit out of the way? Like, can I see your composition first? You can't even see it. So
Yeah.
how can we compose an image together? How can we figure out how to make this better? Because it's like, oh, we're shooting JPEG large. Like, oh, that's really nice information. Or we're shooting RAW, and it says the aspect ratio, and it says what AF mode you're in, and it says your ISO, and all that shit on top of your fucking photo. I
Yeah.
could go on about this. Like, it is so obnoxious that that is not the number one consideration, that everything gets out of the way so you can actually use your camera for what it's for.
I think one of
That's my
my
rant.
biggest pet peeves, and I already mentioned this in another episode, is like when you're shooting and somebody, like another photographer, just comes up and like fucking plops their shit down like right next to you, and they're just like, "Okay, I'm shooting this with you," or they'll come up and be like, "What are we shooting, man?" Like, I'm like, "Dude, we're not shooting anything."
We, or like when someone shows you a composition they got and then you go back to try to copy it. Like, you have to, You'd have to have
Fuckers, hate those guys.
just incredible balls to do something like that. Like the nerve. Number one, how dare you? Like
Rookie
the
move.
Kelly Kapoor thing from The Office. I have I have 4 questions. Number one, how dare you?
I think when somebody just rolls up and starts flying their drone around too, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's a buzzkill.
Oh, and then you tell them about it, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know," and they keep doing it. It's like they might argue with you, or they might put their tail between their legs. They might say you're not a ranger.
Oh, I don't mean when it's not allowed. I just mean like anywhere. It's just I think it's
but that's
very
that's what I say to them. But I think it's fucking annoying. But I also say I could get a ticket. But really, what I mean is fucking stop it. Just stop it. Okay, there's people around. Stop it.